Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Motive Racing channel. We're here for the fifth round, the penultimate round of the ACC GT3 League here on the PlayStation 4 for Season 10. And we just got to the end of the one-shot qualifying. Unfortunately, we couldn't come in until right near the very end of the session. But predictably, the man who's been in fine form in the last couple of weeks in qualifying, Jazzman, has taken another pole position here by 0.6 of a second ahead of his old foe in the PlayStation 5 League here at Motive, Tyner Cinderhouse, who is just under 0.7 behind him in second spot. I am qualifying in third place there in the session ahead of Recco Vantage, who will start this one in fourth place. Pete Bibb in fifth ahead of Archie sixth, Diddy in seventh, Guitar Rich putting it in eighth place, Farmason in ninth on his debut here ahead of Nilsson in 10th. Torday P11, Codalunga and Dimensa didn't manage to get laps in, unfortunately, for them in that session there. But guys, I want to bring in a man who we've not seen on here for a few weeks now since the Hungaroring, but he is the coordinator of this GT3 League on a Wednesday night. Freeman, welcome back, mate.
Thank you very much. Good to be back. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And obviously, with the absence of you the last few weeks, you know, it's been a bit of a difficulty for me, you know, being able to keep up with everything. But as I say, it's always a pleasure to have you alongside me in the box, and hopefully we can enthrall the viewers and the drivers watching this back later on with our dulcet tones here on the stream. But Jazzman looking very good here in this session. He's managed to put it nearly 0.7 clear of Tynus, but obviously you might not be too familiar with these two, but in the PlayStation 5 League that we ran a few months ago, they were extremely close. These two had a great tussle throughout the season. And interestingly, it was Jazzman who was always quick in qualifying, but Tynus seemed a little bit better in the races on average. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic, which we may or may not see play out here tonight. But we currently got 2 minutes to go. The drivers just making their final adjustments to their setups before we actually get underway for the race. So it'll be 1 hour along with a mandatory pit stop thrown in, but these guys do not have to. There's no specification on when you've actually got to make that mandatory pit stop. You can kind of just come in whenever it's convenient or whenever you fancy it. You know, it's like entirely up to you when you do it. But it's going to be it's always going to be a bit of a strategic unknown as to what people do with their pit stops, or when they come in and do them, or if they're going to put fuel in, or they're going to half tank it. Freeman, I've got to ask you, when you used to race in the GT4s, did you ever think to half tank the car, or did you always just chuck it all in and get out there?
Because of the mandatory tyre change, where that takes 25 seconds, and then adding fuel would only then take an extra 5. I always went half race fuel, or just over. So if I needed to go a little bit longer, I could do. But also as well, the pit had a pit stop window, so it was within that 10-minute window, wasn't it, that we had to make those pit stops. So I've always felt that, you know, with the ones where it's like this, where there's no pit window, I would look to try and put in as much fuel as possible. To be honest, probably I would go with full race fuel.
Full race fuel in this situation.
Yeah, because if I could manage my tyres well enough, then I could literally just do a stop and go. You know, and not have to waste any time getting tyres changed or anything like that, and just get up on the jacks and go straight back out.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, because obviously the amount of time that you lose by refueling is a lot more substantial under the current regs that we're running here nowadays for this Wednesday League. So I think it's probably the best way to go. I'd agree with you on that one. As we are just about to go for this. Oh, sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say, so yeah, I think just kind of looking as well with a bit of chat in the Discord today between a couple of the drivers. I think that's the sort of strategy that Jazzman is looking to take today as well. He feels that he can manage the tyres, although temperature-wise it is a little bit hot.
Well, so, Jazzman's main aim, I think, this week, based on recent form, is going to be just get it to the finish.
Yeah, I mean, he's already had a disconnection in the practice as well earlier on today, so
maybe, hopefully, he got on top of that and has made some adjustments or done something that you think might work, maybe reset his internet or something. But on a dedicated server, obviously you would think that the disconnections would be few and far between. But Jazzman has had 2 in the last couple of weeks, and as you said before, he had 1 in the practice session as well. But if there's going to be one time where you want a disconnection to happen, it would definitely be during the practice session, because obviously then it's not really going to affect anything. But right now here, Jazzman taking his 3rd pole in 3 weeks, but can he actually get to the flag this time? He's been blisteringly quick in the Sprint Championship on a Sunday night. In fact, his connections had no problems whatsoever in the Sprint Championship. He's been with us for the last couple of weeks in that one, and he has been completely, no issues whatsoever. So it only seems to be on a Wednesday night when he's got his problems. Now, I don't know if he's in a different location on a Wednesday night, or if maybe it's just his bandwidth is being a little bit more in demand on a Wednesday. I don't quite know, to be perfectly honest with you, but something's definitely a bit different. But we got Tynus right behind him, lining up in 2nd place. We're 2nd to Jazzman in the PS5 Championship that we ran a few months ago. I Am Slow will be lining up in P3 for this one in the Mercedes. He was the runaway winner last week at the Hungaroring. He was in dominant form. He completely obliterated everybody. But obviously he's going to find a much stiffer test this week with these 2, Jazzman and Tynus, in front of him. You've got Recco Vantage, P4, been pretty consistent over the course of this season, but has had to miss a couple of rounds. Missed last week. Last week. I'm sorry. I Am Slow won last week at the Nürburgring. It wasn't the Hungaroring. And Recco missed last week at the Nürburgring. It was Recco who won at the Hungaroring. So, sorry, boys, that's just a bit of an error there from me on the mic. But, so it's Recco running up in P4. Unfortunately, he's had to miss a few rounds this season. Pete Bibb's been with us for quite a number of seasons now, and he's been lining up in P5. He was leading the championship after the 1st round due to the fact that he was the highest non-reserve driver to finish in that race, in the 1st race at Alton Park. We have Archie P6, who was laughing earlier on, saying about how he's in with a shout of the championship, which is miraculous, really, when you think about it. DDTKU, not where he wants to be. P7, Guitar Rich, Farmer Son, Nielsen down in P10. Torde in 11th, Kodalungu down in P12. He's very frustrated with how that Merc is handling. He's been in our party chat. He's really, really wound up with it. Dimenta at the back. But Freeman, I've got to ask you the $1 million question here tonight. This is a question that we always have to ponder before the start of any race. Who is your money on tonight? Who do we think is going to be taking home the W?
I'm going to put my neck on the line. I'm going to go Titus. So
Titus. Tonight. I was going to do the same. I was going to go for the exact same.
Then I Am Slow.
Yeah, I was going to go Tynus, so I think we're both going to go Tynus. So now Jazzman's probably going to walk away and win it by half a lap. So here we are then, guys. We're about to go racing here at Imola for round 5 of the season, the penultimate round of the GT3 League here on ACC Emotive, and it looks like we're underway. So Jazzman has actually been jumped by Tynus coming up towards turn 1. Tynus had a bit of a better bite. We can see in the background there, that was Recco on the grass as Jazzman just tags the curve a little bit on the inside. Recco ratting over the curves as well. Might have got ahead of I Am Slow here, but it's Tynus leading the race ahead of Jazzman at the moment. Jazzman's now looking back to the inside there. They're side by side here. Down towards the Villeneuve chicane they come. And can Jazzman squeeze back through ahead? He does so, I think. He's made that move stick again. And Jazzman is back up into the lead. I Am Slow there running in 3rd place ahead of Recco, followed by Archie. Pete Bibb there in 6th. Has lost out to Archie there on the first lap. Didi there running in 7th place ahead of Farmer Son. You got Guitar Rich there just behind Cod. So Cod's got ahead of Guitar Rich up into 9th place. Dimenta has got Torde looking to his inside. Nielsen has dropped down to the back, so it's not been the start that Nielsen would have wanted at all. Recco looking to the inside of I Am Slow, up the hill through this left-hand bend. Has he managed to get that move done? I don't think he has. No, he hasn't. He's tucked in behind him for the time being. But interesting race so far in this first half a lap as Torde's really wide there onto the curve, rattling around a little bit and living dangerously. He's gone deep coming through Acqua Minerale. That might give Nielsen a run coming up the hill down towards the chicane. Can Nielsen shape up a move here on Torde? He's going to have a look. He's going to look to try and send one down the inside if he can. As Torde leaves in the space, Nielsen's going to go for that one. Torde's going to try and come back in him as he knows. Nielsen's done that one.
Famerson just actually lost coming out of the chicane. And he has got... he has got 2 seconds. 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 2 secon Dominatrix. Oh no, who's actually lost its card? Cod's just lost it as well.
Dominatrix.
Dominatrix.
Jazzman and Tynus both in on the first lap, which I'm quite surprised about. I don't quite know what they're playing out there. As Guitar Rich has got Farmerson looking to his outside, coming up towards turn one. Farmerson's trying to get around him, but Guitar Rich has got that one covered then by the looks of it. Cod there, riding over that curve a bit, and he's gone wide. That might set Nielsen up with a chance to come at him here, but...
no, Torday's just taken that position off of Nielsen.
Sorry, Torday even, yeah. Torday. So who is that right behind... Yeah, it's Torday right behind Cod, but Torday couldn't get enough of a run there. I'm Solo's got Recco Vantage all over the back of him, and these two running 1 and 2, obviously with Jazzman and Tynus coming in for a very early pit stop. Archie there running in third place has got Didi and Pete Bibb a little way off of him. Bit of a gap back to Guitar Rich and Farmerson, who are batting it out over 6th and 7th places at the moment then. But Jazzman and Tynus coming out of the pits, and Jazzman's got a 2-second gap to Tynus. We believe those two are net 1 and 2 in this race. But with them coming in so early, it's very, very clear. Like you said, Freeman, Jazzman was conspiring to not change tyres in this race, as we know.
Yep.
So it looks like, obviously, when you could do it makes no difference to him coming in this early, because he's going to do the whole race on the same set of tyres, regardless of what happens. So he might as well do his pit stop straight away.
Yeah, because it means he's got fresher, completely clear track, no pressure at the back, although Titus obviously followed him in. But other than Titus, he's got no pressure from behind. So now he can just run his race. And put in those consistent lap times that we know he can do. It would be hard for I Am Slow and Recco Vantage to even be able to gauge where they're going to be coming out. Yeah,
it definitely would be. Recco's still trying to hassle I Am Slow, still can't find a way through. Archie there running all by himself. Didi and Pete Bibb still batting over 4th and 5th. Guitar Rich has gapped Farmerson a little bit on that lap. That gap's now over a second. Dimentor's clinging to the coattails of him, but only just. Bit of a gap back to Torday and Nielsen, who are still going at it. Cod, though, has made a big mistake. He is now running nearly 10 seconds behind Torday and Nielsen, so I don't know quite what's going on there with Cobb, but he is not having the race so far tonight at all. He's in our party chat, so we can hear every word we're saying, maybe. It's just a bit of a distraction for him at this point. Pete Bibb's dropped a little bit off at the back of Didi over the course of this lap. He's not putting as much pressure on him as he was. Also, I Am Slow has pulled out almost a second of a gap here to Recco. In fact, that's over a second. In fact, Recco has dropped behind Archie. So Recco's made a mistake. He must have dropped it somewhere coming to the first sector there. And Recco now is 4 seconds off of the lead. So that's what I Am Slow needs. But he's still got Jazzman and Tynus, who have done their pit stops already. So once he's obviously done his pit stop, he'll probably come out behind those two. But big development there for Recco Vantage. Pete Bibb's still clinging to the back of Didi just. Nielsen still can't find a way through ahead of Torday at the moment, as these two are batting it out over 9th and 10th places. As we welcome Lightblade in the chat. Hello Lightblade, good to see you as always. Big fan of Motive, and also maybe not a contender in the Clio Cup now, due to some shenanigans that occurred on Monday night, but has been a prominent runner in the Clio Cup for this entire season on Project Cars 2 on a Monday night series. And he obviously races in our touring cars on a Thursday night as well. Good to see Lightblade chiming in here. Welcome to you, mate. But Nielsen still can't make anything happen with Torday at the moment. Half a second currently separating these two as they're starting lap 4 of the race. I Am Slow's got a 3-second gap to Archie. Recco is now closed onto the back of Archie a little bit. In fact, he just lost 4 tenths as I say that.
But you've got Didi. He's got Pete Bibb all over the back of him, and they're starting to close up on Recco as well. So we could actually start having essentially a three-way battle for third place.
Yeah, Dimentor's looking all over Farmerson here as well, coming out of the hairpin, but he's not quite got the run coming up the hill. It's a difficult part of the track to overtake. The hairpin beforehand would have been his big opportunity, but he wasn't quite close enough. Feigning a move there, Farmerson. It's Dimentor chasing Farmerson, but he's trying to feign a move here on Farmerson, but Farmerson's not having any of it at the moment. Dimentor's just trying to make Farmerson, I think, probably a little bit on edge, maybe try and make him think that something's imminent, or possibly just trying to force him into a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but Farmerson's not having any of it. He knows that he's pretty much in the clear at the moment. In terms of this battle for P7, as long as he doesn't make a mistake, they're pretty evenly matched in terms of pace at this point by the looks of it. Reko's still within a second of Archie. I Am Slow's keeping the gap at around 3 seconds to Archie, but Archie's got a little bit wide coming out of the last corner. Reko's going to tuck into the slipstream here as they come down the start, finish straight. You can see Reko getting great closing speed. Archie must have had a moment coming to the final sector because it was 8/10 as they came over the middle sector checkpoint. Here they come then. And so yeah, you can see Archie's made a big mistake because he's now 4 seconds behind I Am Slow. Reko vantage in the slipstream. Again, the Porsche just hasn't got the pace down the straights, but Archie's got a little bit deep coming into Villeneuve, but he's going to get it stopped nicely as they come through now, and Archie still maintains P2 at the moment then.
Yeah, it's potentially be quite a good battle that's going to be developing between these two. Porsche, as we know, is good through just the tight, twisty parts, but the power of the Lexus over the Porsche should be able to kind of keep that position over any longer straights that they have.
Yeah, it certainly should. So, Reko's made the move on Archie, up the hill, into the left-hander. So Reko's up into P2, he's made that, he looks like he's done that. Must have got a really good exit out of the hairpin, because that is not generally an overtaking spot. But Reko's now up into P2. They did both lose quite a bit of time to I Am Slow coming through that sector. So they must have been holding each other up and having a bit of a tussle. But Reko's come out on top in that one. Didi's not too far away from these either. Pete Bibb is still just about keeping within the realms of striking distance on Didi at this point. These two well ahead of Qatar Rich. As Farmerson there running in 7th place with Diamenta still all over him. Torday and Nilsson, you see just coming through your shot there. Cod's closing in on Torday and Nilsson now. He's got the gap down to 4 seconds to Nilsson. So Cod now is starting to bring himself back into the fray a little bit here. But I Am Slow checking out the front, but he knows that Jazzman and Tynus both have pitted already, and Jazzman's pulling away from Tynus as well. Jazzman's got the gap at over 6 seconds to Tynus at this point, so I think that Jazzman's looking very good for his money at this stage. Just needs to keep up what he's doing at the moment. He'll probably jump I Am Slow.
I think, like you said earlier, we put the curse on Titus in terms of saying around that he's going to go and win the race, because Titus is literally, as you say, he's just kind of he's a league of his own at the moment. Doesn't look like there's anything that Titus can do, and I've just been watching the gap as well between Jazzman and Kodalungu.
Yeah, it's coming down.
When he first came out of the pits, he was like 19 or so seconds. It's just after Cod had his incident. But every single lap, it's coming down. Each sector, each chunks coming up a bit as well.
Literally half a second each sector is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, if I was in Kodalungu's shoes, I mean, what I'd be looking to do is not worry about Jazzman behind me, let him pass as soon as he catches up, and tuck in and try and follow him round and see if he can then try and close up and follow him through Nielsen's Torday and the rest of the pack.
Yeah. I mean, as we were talking about them just there, I was just flicking from Cod to Jazzman. As Cod's coming through one corner, you flick to Jazzman and he's just coming into it. Obviously about 6 seconds separating them. I wouldn't say, I mean, about a couple of corners between them at most points, but you can see just how much more confident Jazzman is at this point, and he's going to be on the back of Cod in probably a couple of laps time, 2 or 3 laps time, I reckon. But Cod has fallen off of Nilsson a bit. Nilsson's got the gap to Cod to over 5 seconds, and Nilsson is now putting pressure on Torday for 9th place as well. What's that?
Dementa. He's made an error because Cod's now right on the back of him.
Oh yeah, what's going on here? I thought for a second that might have been Torday, but it's not. Sorry, not Nilsson even, but wow. Dementa here has dropped down to 10th place. He was in P7. He was in P8, it was on the back of Farmerson, but he's made a big mistake here. Cod's now got the run. Is Cod going to look to the inside? The Mercedes has got a rapid pace on the straights, a little bit quicker than the Ferrari. He's going to look to the inside. The Ferrari, Diamenta holds it on the outside. Oh no, and Cod taps him in the rear, and Diamenta's off onto the grass there. Similar incident to what we saw between Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo in the F1 this season, and Cod's waiting for him. So Cod, I think, accepting responsibility for that one, holding his hands up and letting Diamenta get along and on his way. Freeman, what do you reckon? What do you reckon on that one?
Difficult one. I'd like to see a replay on that, which I'm going to jump on in a second and have a look.
In the
I mean,
meantime, we've got Tynus here making a move to the inside of Dimentor into the hairpin. Sorry, mate. Oh, Dimentor's gone wide as well onto the grass, coming through the hairpin. So Cod's going to get back ahead of him there, and that's only going to add insult to injury there for Dimentor. Sorry, mate.
No, carry on. I'm just going to load up the replay and have a look and see.
Freeman's just looking up the little old backlog that we've got there on the YouTube channel. But we've got Nilsson's currently on the back of Tour Day at the moment. We've also got, like I was saying, he's a proud motive racer, and we're proud to have you here, and we're proud to be able to give the service that we do here on the streams and also on the track as well. We've got Scooter Paul, Evening Races. Hello, Scooter Paul, welcome to you. Races is with us, well, has raced with us on the PS5, but also has raced with us on the PS4, because since we've been on the PS4 for, I think, the majority of the time that we've existed here at Motive. Hopefully we'll have Scooter Paul back out on track soon as well. We're hoping to get back onto the PS5 once we know for sure that the spectator mode is fully functional. But we'll be looking to hopefully get PS5 GT3 League here on ACC back up pretty soon. Reko's still running within 2 seconds of IMSO, but IMSO's gapping him ever so slightly at this stage. Archie's fallen off the back of Reko as well. You got Didi running in 4th place, who's still got Pete Bibb pretty close on him. 1.3 still the gap between those two, so there's not really much separating them. Farmer's Son is closing in on Guitar Rich though, so that's going to be one to watch. Guitar Rich is falling off of the top 5 by quite a bit at this stage, and Farmer's Son, I think, will be definitely fancying this one at this point. But
just going back to that, the incident there between Cod, it did seem Codalunga was on the curb when contact was made, so I'm not sure if he was given enough space. So I think Demento actually potentially kind of squeezed him a little bit too much, maybe. Potentially tried to take it a little bit too kind of wide and actually squeeze Codalunga, and contact was then made. So
was Cod significantly alongside though?
I wouldn't have said at the point of entry he wasn't. He didn't have his car halfway alongside. No. So
we'll have to obviously see how that one unfolds in the fallout from that one. But whilst we've been discussing that incident there involving Codalunga and obviously Dimensa, we can see here the front two I Am Slow. The gap's come down quite a bit. Reko Vantage has got the gap under a second here to I Am Slow. So I Am Slow maybe he's made a bit of a slip up. Possibly Reko Vantage has just got the bit between his teeth. Maybe it's a combination of both, but right now it's looking like it's a very tight battle here for what is the current lead in this race. We're not expecting it to be the net lead with Jazzman and Tynus having pitted already. Interestingly, the gap between Jazzman and Tynus hasn't gone up too much, so maybe that gap being 6 seconds a little while ago was down to a mistake from Tynus, because the gap is still 6 seconds between Jazzman and Tynus as we speak. So, as we say, Tynus is matching Jazzman at this point, so maybe he might, if Jazzman makes a mistake, he could be right there. As we can see Reko Vantage now pulling to the inside here, looking into the chicane. He's having a big look here, showing his nose there to I Am So, but goes a bit deep coming into the chicane. That's just lost him a bit of time and given I Am So just a little bit of breathing room there. But Reko Vantage is definitely signifying intent at this point. We know this is definitely going to be for a podium spot. It could be for more, depending on what sort of pace Jazzman and Tynus have been doing since their pit stops. But right now, Reko Vantage is definitely looking like he wants to spend the minimum amount of time that he can behind I Am Slow here.
Yeah, and just looking at I've just been watching Pete Bibb and Didi. Pete Bibb's starting to bring that gap down again, starting to put a little bit of pressure on Didi. It just looks like he little errors keep creeping in, which then opens the gap back up for Didi.
Yeah, it's ebbing and flowing, isn't it?
Yeah, Didi's quite a consistent driver, lap after lap, and his times are generally pretty similar. Whereas Pete Bibbs is a little bit up and down. So if he could just put out some consistency, he could definitely look to try and take Didi here.
One thing also to come to, Farmerson has got ahead of Guitar Rich, and he's now 3 seconds clear of him, so Guitar Rich must have dropped it somewhere. He's now got Torde, well, he's going to be breathing down his neck surely, but Jazzman has got ahead of Torde, so Jazzman is now up into P8. Now the thing is, the interesting thing about this situation here, obviously in the GT World Challenge, you don't actually have to get past. Well, you do have to look out for. You have to be aware of blue flags. You don't actually have to let a driver pass unless they are significantly faster than you. But with this situation now, obviously there are no blue flags because Jazzman is fighting these guys for position. The only reason he's behind them is because he's pitted, but they are still fighting for position. So none of these drivers are obliged to move aside. But it looks like not Guitar Rich, sorry. That's number 89. That is Dimenter actually. So he is being lapped by Jazzman. But the rest of the guys that you see in front of him, Guitar Rich there, just coming. Oh, Guitar Rich at a moment. Coming out of Aqua Minerale. Big slide. Holds it really well. Oh my goodness me. That was a brilliant save there from Guitar Rich. Freeman, if you get a chance, check the stream out, mate. That was an insane save there from Guitar Rich. I thought he was sideways for a moment. And he continues on his way.
If I can catch that.
Yeah, it was quite an exuberant little correction there, but nonetheless, we continue on our way here. We've got Imstow out the front. It's got a 1.3 second gap at the moment over Recco Vantage. So Imstow's now started to get that back together again. Recco had got the gap under a second a few moments ago, but that's now gone back up to what it was. Didi's gap Pete Bibb, he's got just over a second now. So as we said before, that gap's going up and down, and it's continuing to ebb and flow. Now the thing between Jazzman and Tynus, obviously there was about a 6 or 7 second gap between them before they hit the traffic, or rather before they hit their drivers who they're battling for position. But obviously now with Jazzman having made his way through that traffic and Tynus being on the back of it, Tynus is going to be losing time and he's going to be probably getting a bit frustrated here. But this is going to really show, I think, we've seen both of these two have got pace, but now we're going to have to see both of them, how they are at negotiating traffic and actual drivers who they're battling with for position. And that's going to be a fascinating one. But Tynus has made his way through relatively routinely there on Nilsson. And Nilsson's now got Dimenter on the back of him. Obviously, Dimenter a lap down on Nilsson, having made a pit stop and having had to repair damage as well. As Nilsson seemed like he was sliding a bit there as he came into that left-hand bend, but he held onto it, whatever the case. Jazzman is now eyeing up Farmerson. But I suppose at this point, Tynus is going to be hoping that Jazzman can be held up a bit behind Farmerson. Farmerson seems to be holding his own here as well, which could play into Tynus' hands. But Tynus has still got to negotiate Guitar Rich and Torde at this point. The gap between Jazzman and Tynus is currently 8 seconds. So the gap's gone up since they've been making their way through the traffic. Jazzman has been making light work of these guys in front of him. Tynus has struggled a little bit more than Jazzman has, but out of the final corner, and Jazzman's now got the slipstream here on Farmerson, and he should be able to clear him, I think, routinely here as he's got that to closing speed now. That slipstream is working wonders there for the Bentley, but I tell you what, Farmerson in the Merc seems to have decent straight line speed, and he's playing here with Jazzman as well, trying to make it difficult for him. Jazzman now looking to the inside into the braking zone. Farmerson trying to hold it around the outside. Farmerson here driving absolutely brilliantly. I'll tell you what, in his first race here tonight, it'd be easy to get overwhelmed with a driver like Jazzman. Jazzman's won 2 championships here in the past automotive, so you'd think that Farmerson might be a little bit overcome by the situation, but he's not at all. He is giving it Jazzman. He's giving it to him 100%, and he's keeping on to the position here. Farmerson is still in P6, and Jazzman can't seem to find a way around him at the moment. Great stuff from Farmerson. This is absolutely brilliant stuff. As Tynus has now cleared Torde, and the gap has come down quite a bit actually. The gap is now 6 seconds between Jazzman and Tynus, so Farmerson being the thorn in the side that Tynus would want him to be at this point. But Jazzman's now got the run coming down towards Aqua Minerale. Onto the brakes they come, squeezes through, and Farmerson, I think, just has to eventually back out of that one. I think there was little to no gain in actually going for that move in the end, and I think he's finally come to his senses. And but great battle there, good little fight, and Jazzman's through up into P6.
So what do you reckon, if we've got just under 40 minutes left of the race to go, could Jazzman actually overtake everyone before they go into the pits?
I think he possibly could at the rate he's going. He's about, 20 seconds behind Pete Bibb at the moment. He's probably lapping a couple of seconds a lap faster.
22 seconds behind Archie at the moment.
22 seconds behind Archie. I mean, he's going about a couple of seconds a lap quicker. In 11 laps' time, we'll have 20 minutes left in this race. I reckon most of them would have pitted by then. He might catch Pete Bibb, maybe Didi. maybe beyond that, it might be a
Yeah.
bit of a difficult one.
Yeah, 18 seconds up the road, potentially.
I mean, it depends. Depends if he's. Yeah, it depends how much quicker he is. I mean, if he's 2.5 seconds quicker, maybe it could be a possibility. But we've got Lightblade there in the comments saying, show him who's boss, Farmerson. Obviously, getting behind Farmerson there, who was having that great battle with Jazzman. Tynus is now ahead of Guitar Rich. So Tynus has made that move up into P8. I'm going to keep an eye on the gap. The gap between Jazzman and Tynus is only 5 seconds. So Farmerson has really worked wonders here for Tynus' hopes of getting into this race. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what Farmerson does when Tynus gets up onto the back of him. Is he going to fight him in a similar manner, or is he just going to kind of bend over for him? Not bend over, but, you know, like wave him by. wrong terminology there. This is motorsport we're talking about.
Do you mean to pull to the side and allow him to pass?
Yeah, just gently wave him through. Yeah. But right now, Tynus, he's coming onto. He's pulling up onto the back of Farmerson here. The gap was 2 seconds as they came through the middle sector checkpoint, but that gap's now considerably less than that. So Tynus is going to have a good chance as they come down the start-finish straight. Here we go. He's going to be picking up that slipstream, and the Bentley is not the quickest in the straight line compared to the Merc, so Farmerson will be able to do a similar thing to what he did to Jazzman. Now, the last time we saw Farmerson hug the inside, and then at the last second left the door open.
Recco Varnish looking to make a move on
Tynus is going for it. Tynus is going for it, and he has made light work there of Farmerson. And Farmerson there could not hold Tynus for any amount of time there. So that's Tynus up into P7. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say Archie was looking like he was going to try and make a move, and actually just pulled out, thought better of it. But it's developing into a really close battle between these two.
Yeah, it is. It's going back and forth. I think Recco might be saving his tyres a little bit better than I'm so is. Maybe, perhaps, Recco's half-tanked it, because his tyres seem to be lasting a lot better. IMSO was quick in the first part of the race, and then now it seems like it's coming back to Recco a little bit. I don't know, it's just theorising. This is just me trying to, this is me trying to justify why I'm seeing what I'm seeing. It's probably all rubbish. But right now we can see these two coming down the start-finish straight. Nonetheless, a tenth of a second separating them at this stage. The gap between Jazzman and Tynus is 6 seconds, so all in all, with all the traffic that they had to make their way through, the gap stayed relatively the same, so they've had similar progress as they came through. The gap between Pete Biv and Jazzman is now 11 seconds. I swear a second ago it was 18.
Yeah, it was 18 seconds.
So we looked a second ago and it was 18.
17, yeah, around that, yeah.
So Jazzman's flying at this point, as there's still 7 tenths between Imestone and Recco.
Looks as though Cod has had another issue because he's now 11 seconds up of Torday. Oh, actually, no. So, no, it would have been Nielsen's actually gone into the pits. So Nielsen's pitted.
Yeah, Cod's struggling. And it's a shame. He was quick in the quali, but he was saying, not in the practice it was he was quick, but he was saying to us in a party chat, even though his pace was good, he's saying that he just didn't feel comfortable. And I think over a race, over a quali lap, maybe you can hide to a certain extent the struggles that you're experiencing, but over a race, they're going to come out. You can't hide it over the length, over a full race distance. You're going to get exposed, unfortunately. It's just the way it goes. But Recco's currently still right on the back of I'm So here, half a second between them as they're coming down the hill, down towards the hairpin. I think, is it called Ravazza, this hairpin? I think it is. No, I don't even know.
Sure. Yeah, that's what we call it.
100%, mate. Yeah, 100%. That's what it is. I think it is. Let me know in the comments, guys, if anybody knows the corner names. I know you got the Villeneuve chicane, Tamburello chicane, and you've got, I think, you got what is it? The Aqua Minerale is the one where you dip down and then dip up. I assume because that's the part of the track where all the water builds up. Aqua Minerale, I would guess. And then I think the hairpins with that, so I think it is. But if anybody actually knows, please do let me know, because I always do like to say the corner names, just because I actually I like to sound intelligent. I like to sound like I actually know what I'm talking about. So when I say corner names, I feel like that might actually make me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
So
But yeah,
Titus and Jazzman have comfortably cleared Recco Vantage, because Recco Vantage pulled into the pits during that last lap, and he's definitely been sat there for a little while. So he's definitely looking to change tyres and refuel.
yeah. So he's half tanked it, like, and then I had that theory because he seemed to be hanging on to his tyres better than IMSO did. So obviously with IMSO driving on a full tank, you expect his tyres to be suffering a little bit more because obviously they've got more weight on them. So I think, but then again, we've seen IMSO holding on to his tyres really well over the course of this season. So maybe he's just nursing them at this stage. It could just be that. Don't confuse yourself, Andy. Just use turn 1 or turn 2, mate. Thank you, Jay. I will heed that advice. I will actually heed that advice, because I think you're right, because I think it's just simpler and easy and means less mistakes. So yeah, let's just go with that. The only problem is, and this is actual truth, I actually struggle to use the numbers for turns, because I actually lose count as to what corner we're on. It's very easy for me to lose count. Once I'm like more than 5 or 6 corners into the lap, I lose count of how many corners there have been. So that's that's the reason why I don't do that.
And I don't think I'd be any help with that either, because I'm exactly the same.
When people say like turn 11, I'm like, how the bloody hell do you know how many turns there have been up to this point? It's like I'm just driving around like in my own little world, and you're counting the number of corners or something. Like, how do you do it? Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3. Yeah, that's easier.
Sorry, I Am Slow has just got in, or just coming out of the pits now. Jazzman's passed and Titus has passed. And Recco is still a long way back, and I Am Slow is on the moves. He's just coming out of the pit, so he's had a massive jump on him.
Well, yeah, what has happened to Recco? So, obviously we think Recco's got fresh tyres on, which could make a difference. But last week at Nürburgring, we saw I Am Slow actually did the whole race on one set. He waited until the last lap to pit, and still came out about 4. No, it wasn't the last lap. Sorry, it was about 4 laps from the end. That was about maybe 10 minutes left in the race, and he pitted, and he came out about 40 seconds ahead still after his pit stop. Bear in mind, he was probably about a minute and a half ahead before his pit stop. So
something we have missed as well is Pete Bibb has actually got in front of Didi and has pulled away by about 2 seconds. So I'm not sure what happened if Didi actually dropped it at some point.
Potentially, yeah.
Looking at that gap difference, I think it probably was.
So we now know who's the net leader. Obviously, Jazzman is now out in front, and to be fair, like Jazzman and Timeless have really been putting it in over the first part of this race. You can just see by the gap that they've got to I Am Slow. I Am Slow is going to be sat there thinking, what have I got to do? I bet at this point, because you know, to be leading most of this race, out in front, doing his thing. You know, he's had Recco on the back of him, pressuring him and stuff, but he has come out 19 seconds behind. Then again, Jazzman and Tynus are going to have very worn out tyres. But did I Am Slow pit for tyres? I don't think he did he?
I don't think his pit stop was that long.
No, I don't think he pitted for tyres. So he's not actually going to have any advantage over Tynus and Jazzman. Oh, and we lost the driver. Somebody is disconnected. It is a disconnection because it's not one of the rear runners. Who is it? It's not Jazzman. Oh, I'm trying to cross-reference. It's Didi. We've lost Didi from the race. Didi's out of the race. Didi. From P3 as well. He was in the top half here in this one. He wasn't having too shabby of a race at all, but he is out of this one. And that's obviously a massive shame there. But Jazzman nonetheless is now closing in on Pete Bibb. The gap now down to 2 seconds, and obviously Pete Bibb's still yet to pit. Maybe your theory of Jazzman getting ahead of everybody before they've even had to come in and do the pit stop could actually turn out to be the case. As
so
we've got JR saying. Oh, sorry,
I
mate.
was going to say, so he's 12 seconds off of Archie, with just over half the race left, or just under half the race left. Sorry.
It all depends on when Archie's going to come in.
Yeah.
But so obviously we lost Didi, so that would probably give Archie um, more of give Archie and Pete Biv a bit more of an easier time in the battle for what we think is probably going to be P5 in this race, I would imagine. Recco obviously being in the pit stop for a bit longer than he'd have liked to is going to possibly drop Recco into that battle with Archie and Pete Bibb, maybe. So it could turn into a battle for fourth. Though we think Recco's got fresh tyres on, so he will be a bit quicker. I mean, it depends on what Archie and Pete Bibb do in their pit stops. If they change tyres, it could all change very quickly. But nonetheless, Jazzman is making the move on Pete Bibb up the hill and up into P2. Obviously, Jazzman, your net race leader, but the gap between Jazzman and Tynus is still 6 seconds, and that gap's staying at around the same. Jazzman hasn't got this race in the bag by any stretch of the imagination. Jazzman is one mistake from dropping down to P2. Tynus is still keeping him on his toes at this point, and in fact, oh no, I was just about to say that Tynus had closed the gap to 5 seconds. He hasn't. That 5 seconds is the gap to Pete Bibb. So Jazzman is 6.2 ahead of him, but he did gain a little bit whilst Jazzman was not lapping. Tynus did gain a little bit on Jazzman whilst Jazzman was overtaking Pete Bibb. So I wonder if Tynus might get held up a bit behind Pete Bibb in a second. It all depends on when Pete Bibb comes in, because he's probably approaching that sort of pit window now, but he might just decide to go to the end. If he's doing the whole race on one set of tyres, he's got no reason to split the race in half. He might as well just wait until the very last minute before bringing it in.
Yeah, it looked like he actually lifted off the throttle a little bit to allow Jazzman to pass. I think he knows it's not his race. You know, he's not racing against Jazzman. I imagine he'd do the same with tyres as well.
It's one of those where I think he's got more to lose by fighting him than he has by letting him pass, because if he fights him, they could end up having a bit of a collision both on the gravel. He could lose more time to the drivers who are around him in this race, potentially Recco maybe, we don't know yet. Guitar Rich, we know was there with him. I don't think he is anymore. I think he's out of that picture pretty much. Kodalungu coming into the pits to make his mandatory pit stop here. It's not been the race at all. He might even drop out in last place here when he comes out of the pits. It's really been that kind of night for him. It's not been the COD that I think we were used to in the GT4 League, for sure. But right now,
I think it depends on what his strategy is, because I think he could potentially be in front of was it Farmerston, and he has done a stop and he's literally just done a stop and go, so it's a good strategy from him.
What happened to Famerson? Because he was driving quite well before. He was up in what, P7 it was? Would have been P6 with Didi not being here. Oh, Famerson's binned it. Top of the hill. Hit straight into the wall. Hit the brakes. Car snapped sideways to the right. He's got big damage on the front. So maybe that was the reason why he had a long pit stop. But he's just had another one.
So COD's actually in front of Guitar Rich at this point.
Ah, so it's not all doom and gloom then. See, I didn't realise how big the gaps were between... Oh, right, okay, yeah. Oh, fair play. There's quite a big delta, I think, between everybody. I hadn't quite realised how big it was. So Guitar Rich there has just been, I think, lapped there by Archie. Yeah, he has. Yep. That's Archie obviously leading this race currently. He's got a 7-second gap to Jazzman, but he still needs to come into the pits to make his pit stop. So we're thinking Archie's probably going to... I reckon Archie will probably be in a battle with I Am So, maybe. Because I Am So... No, actually, I Am So hasn't been in for tyres. So maybe Archie will come out in a battle with Recco, potentially. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, probably split the two. I Am So and Recco Vantage.
Yeah. Well, Recco's closing on I Am So, and he's closing in by quite a bit. So I wonder if the fresh tyres are probably paying dividends at this point. I Am So taking a bit of a risk here by trying to do the race on one set of tyres, because as you can see, the track temperature in the top right-hand side, right-hand corner of your screen is 35 degrees Celsius. So it's by no means a cool track temperature here tonight, obviously in real time today on the game. But at the moment, he's losing time to Recco by quite a bit. He's not gaining on the guys ahead of him. This is obviously for a podium spot in this race. Archie, as you say, is probably going to come out ahead of Recco unless he decides to change tyres, in which case he'll probably come out about 10 seconds behind him. Pete Bibb still got to come in at some point. He'd probably come out a bit behind Recco and Archie, I'd say. But again,
I'd say.
But again, we just don't know at this point. I mean, they could put a load of fuel in. They could change tyres. We just don't know. We just don't know. All we're doing is speculating, guys. We're not pit strategists. We're not engineers. We don't actually know, and neither are we psychics. We don't know. All we can do is speculate. But we do have some idea.
Pete Bibb is 30 seconds ahead of I Am Slow.
Oh, Pete Bibb's made a mistake. Coming out of the hairpin, he's had a big moment there. And he's just now dropped. Well, he's going to lose a bit to... that could drop him out of the battle for P5, maybe.
I didn't actually catch what happened there, so I didn't see what happened. But I was literally just about to say as well, so Pete Bibb is now 25 seconds still ahead of I Am Slow, and Recco's 18 seconds behind I Am Slow. So I think that could be. I think Pete Bibb could even still be in this, depending on what his strategy is.
Yeah, definitely. I think Pete Bibb is not out of it, but that little mistake there isn't going to help his cause at all. We got Torde has currently got Nielsen closing up onto the back of him here. 8/10 of a second currently between these two. Looks like it's a bit more now than what it says on the timing board. So I think Nielsen might have just made a bit of a mistake there as they came through the final set. In fact, he has made quite a big mistake, because he's now absolutely nowhere near him. He is now about 4 seconds behind him. So something's pretty catastrophic has happened there to Nielsen. The gap's now 3.5 seconds between the two of them. Jazzman's got the gap down to 3 seconds to Archie though, and Archie, obviously the current leader of this race is not the net race leader. Jazzman's the net race leader. Jazzman's continuing to put out the gap to Tynus. We believe both of these two did similar pit stops. We believe they both did about the same, I think the same pit stop time, give or take. So I think they're on the same strategy. It's going to take a mistake from Jazzman, I think, to bring Tynus into this, but could depend on how hard Archie fights him. You never know. Archie might fancy a bit of a pop at the two-time champion here at Motive. One time on the PS5, another time on the PS4. So he's got the credentials, and who knows? We saw Farmerson giving Jazzman a real good run for his money a little while back. So maybe we'll be seeing a similar situation here, or is Archie just going to be a little bit more kind of smart about how he goes about it, maybe, because Archie's in the championship fight, so he's could be a little bit more careful. In fact, he's coming into the pit, so he's bailing out of that one, and Archie now is coming in with a third of this race left to go. Now, what sort of strategy is he going for? That's the question. Is he gonna? But I wouldn't imagine he'd be putting tyres on, not this late, surely.
No, you can't. Not 19 minutes left of the race. There's no point.
Nah. There'd be little to no gain. I mean, if he was going to be changing tyres, you'd be wanting to split the race in half, or at the very least, come in about 5 minutes either side of the midway point. But there is Archie currently in his pit box, so we expect it's going to be a drop and go, and it is. He is off and away in absolutely no time. So he should be, I think he might be close to I'm Slow, actually.
He's coming down the start-finish straight now.
I'm Slow, I think it's going to get him, just.
He'll get him. Recco won't, though. So split between the two of them.
So I'm Slow coming through. There is Archie on your screen. So I'm Slow's a couple of seconds ahead of him on the track. But Recco Vantage, we know has got fresher tyres than these guys. Is that going to benefit him at all in the final part of this race? The last time I checked, the gap between between I'm Slow and Recco was 18 seconds, and it's gone up. Actually, it's now more than it was. So I don't think that Recco's fresh tyres are really doing him much good at all at the moment, if I'm honest.
And that's the gamble you take. If by putting on the tyres, you've got to make sure that you make it work. And yet you do take full advantage of them, because you're losing 30 seconds in the pit stop to someone that's not taking tyres. And it doesn't look as though it's paid off for him tonight.
No, it certainly hasn't. But we've got Jazzman still leading this race by 7 seconds ahead of Tynus. And those two reasonably close out on the track at the moment. 7 seconds isn't really a whole lot when you consider the fact that they have been racing for the last 43 minutes. So there isn't really much at all separating these two in terms of their overall pace. But it's looking like Jazzman is in control at this point, possibly just managing the gap and just keeping himself, nice and cushy out the front. But we've got Pete Bibbins to the pits, so the final driver to make their pit stop is now in. Kenny there in the comments, Kenny Stewart saying, "Evening boys, hope the racing is going well." Yeah, it's been all right. It's been no major problems as far as we can see. There's been a couple of little scuffles here and there. We saw Codlingu having a bit of an incident with Dimenta, but other than that, I think it's been very enjoyable to observe. We can see Pete Bibbs just putting into the box now. In fact, has he already been into the box? Yes, he has. He has already
just
been in.
He's on the way.
Yeah. So obviously
he's going to stay ahead of Cod. Mecco's just gone past, so I
think it's been enough. I think it's been long enough for him to have been in for sure. Yeah. But Jazzman's out front. He's got 7 seconds right now over Tynus. We've got Kenny saying, "I meant to ask last time I was in, do you ever do any GT7 races?" No, not at the moment, mate. No, never done Gran Turismo.
Mecco's just lost it.
Has he?
He has, yeah.
Oh no, and he'd actually been gaining on I'm Slow and Archie as well. He got the gap down to 16 seconds. So that's gonna maybe just ruin that one a bit.
And it could give Pete Bibb a chance as well, actually, because I think he did tag the wall, so he's going to have some damage on the car.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the gap between the two leaders, Jasmine and Tynus, staying around the same at this point. Archie's keeping the gap at around 2 seconds time, so it's not really going up, it's not really going down either. It's just kind of, just held in limbo. Probably just grooming that gap a bit, trying to hold it there in case anything could come of it. But right now you've got Recco Vantage has now only got 6 seconds to Pete Bibb, so Recco Vantage losing about 4 seconds with that. Has he? No way.
He has, yeah, in the chicane he hit the curb too hard, the sausage curb, and the back end just went.
Recco Charles Leclerc Vantage there. As we can see now, Pete Bibb's going to be definitely sensing an opportunity here. Recco seems to be falling apart a little bit at this point, and that's obviously a huge shame for him, as we got Kenny there saying no, any reason why, or do you boys just not fancy it? In terms of GT7, I'm not really into I don't really want to sound snotty here. Basically, I just don't like arcade racing games. It's I'm more of a sim racing type of person. I like it to resemble reality.
I mean, there is an argument with Project Cars though as well, isn't there? That's a bit more sim case.
Yeah, Project Cars is a little bit, but not for. I mean, it's. I'll tell you what the difference is. On Project Cars, it's the input that's different. The actual behaviour of the cars is very realistic, and it's like the lines that you take and the setups and all that stuff are very similar to real life. It's more. It's to do with your settings. So if you put your settings up correctly, you'll find that it is very true to life. But quite often you can also find that it's you can set it up so that it's completely something contrary. If you want to, you can just make it. You can turn it into an arcade game. It depends. If people want to be really, really fast, you can set your settings up so that it drives like an arcade game, and you can actually do quite well at it. But at the same time, if you want to play properly and feel like it's a sim, you have got the option of doing that as well. So it's open to interpretation. This game, obviously, you've got very little. There's very little maneuverability as to what you can do with settings in terms of how you set the feeling of the wheel and stuff up. So I think this game, it's a lot more. It's everyone's kind of in the same boat on this game to an extent, I find.
I've just been watching the Archie, sorry, not Archie, Recco Vantage for the last few minutes while you've been talking. He's driving like a man, not very happy.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to him.
He's definitely not a happy driver right now. So many off tracks. He definitely would have had a couple of track warnings just on that last lap alone. So yeah, I think he's just hoping for these 12 minutes to end fairly soon. I think we've all been there. We've all been there where it's just not gone to plan.
And all you want to do is all you want it to do is just end, so your pain is over, put you out of your misery. Yeah. he probably can't wait to go and get something to eat and lie down and just chill out.
Yeah, then probably not watch the stream back.
I don't know, you might want to watch the first 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, okay, the part where he was doing well.
Yeah, the part where he was all over I Am So, and they were having a great battle for what was the lead at the time, whilst these two sneaky little devils here, Jazzman and Tynus, were just basically getting their foot down out of sight and under the radar. But these two, I Am So and Recco, thought they were fighting over the lead. Little did they know, these two here were just biding their time.
Biding their time. It looks like I Am So is going to take that third spot as well, because he's now pulled that gap on Archie. He's up to 4.5 seconds now. Was kind of staying around the 2.5 seconds, but now it's kind of stretched that a little bit further. Yeah,
so looks like Archie hasn't quite got what it takes to keep on to I Am So looking great for that podium spot. I'm actually going to pull up. You know what? Seeing as the race is now, I don't want to like be derogatory, but it's kind of just petering out a little bit at this point. I'm just going to pull up the standings. Gives us a bit of a narrative to work with, I think.
Well, they haven't been updated from the Nürburgring yet.
Oh, they haven't?
No.
Alright, let's abandon that then. The gap's coming down though. 6.3 is the gap between Jazzman and Tynus. So actually, Tynus has gained a bit on Jazzman. I wonder if that was because Jazzman was putting a lap there on Dimenta, maybe. That could have been what has brought that gap down ever so slightly. Maybe that's not representative, so to speak. I don't know.
Could also be looking to take it easy though. 10 minutes left of the race. So what have we got?
Yeah. So it's
around 4 or 5 laps, maybe 5 laps.
Potentially, yeah. He just wants to get his tyres, make sure that they that they last the distance. That could be a big factor there as well. Jazzman, he's really walloping them curbs, so I don't think he's looking after his tyres. But Tynus there is, yeah, I think it's just a little bit too far away. I think definitely the laps after the pit stops, because these two came in on the same lap and they came out about a second apart. And then all of a sudden, I noticed the gap had jumped up to 6 seconds, and I noticed how they've kept the gap at 6 seconds since about the 50-minute mark. Obviously, 10-minute mark, really, but you know, with 50 minutes remaining in the race, so it would have been a 10-minute mark. We're obviously at the 50-minute mark now, but obviously at that point, it would have been about 6 seconds the gap. So they have been so consistently lapping within each other. There's been not much separating them in pace at all. But obviously Tynus just allowed that gap to get up, probably with a mistake early on, which we missed. But Jazzman has just taken it. He's just taken the money and ran in this one.
Yeah, making us eat our words, isn't he? Where we were saying Tynus are going to win it.
Yeah.
But just maintain that gap, isn't he?
Sorry, Tynus. Sorry, mate. It's our fault. is a real thing.
But yeah, just maintain that gap. Yeah.
Archie's gained half a second on IMSO on that last lap as well. So Archie is, whilst he's probably a little bit too far back, he's probably left it a little bit late, to be honest. But it's whilst he's not massively far back, he's probably going to run out of laps in order to catch up. And actually, IMSO was a few tenths quicker through that final sector there. So I think, although Archie looking a little bit threatening, I think it's probably a bit too late. I think maybe that ship might have just sailed a bit, although he's got the pace and he's probably got the wherewithal to do it. I think it's just a bit late now, to be fair.
Recco actually took out over a second and a half on Archie on that last lap. So he must be absolutely fuming at those couple of mistakes that he made in that one lap where he lost control of the car twice.
Yeah, he's going to be seething, isn't he? Because he's got fresh tyres as well. His tyres are going to be... Well, actually, no, saying that, he's probably ruined them, to be honest, with those spins and excursions. They're probably still better than Archie, because Archie's been on this for the whole race, but certainly he could have had a lot more in them than he has at this point.
He's driving the wheels off of I'm slow.
Recco is driving the wheels off of that Porsche. He's tapping the grass. He's right on the limits at this stage.
Archie's just taken a second out of I am slow though.
Maybe this could be race on here for the podium spots then. Potentially, Archie's not done here in this one. The gap between Jazzman and Tynus is currently 6.664. So Tynus is...
That gap looks a lot closer than 3 and a 3.5, to be honest.
Yeah, I reckon that's about 2.7 maybe. That's 3.4.
So yeah, a lot closer.
Yeah, he's getting a tenth. He's getting a full tenth of a second through that final sector. So, but Archie here he seems to have the momentum at this point, and he's in the fight up near the top of the standings. I don't know. Not sure exactly what the situation is to the precise number, but obviously. So it still says on my screen, it still says that Spuss is leading the championship on 110 points. I don't know why it says that. It's really weird. It's a glitch on SLP. But the last leader of the championship was actually Recco. But I think that would have changed last week. I'm so could even be leading the championship.
Because he didn't race today.
I'm so technically a reserve. I mean...
Yep.
He's driven in a different car for like half the season. So Himslow's not eligible.
Not
yeah, he's ineligible for obviously points. So I mean Pete Bibb could even be in this. Although I thought Archie's probably, I don't know, it could be close. Could be between Archie and Pete Bibb for this championship. Well, then again, Jazzman can win this week and then win next week. He's suddenly in it as well. It's crazy. It really is. Quite an unusual championship this season. With Jazzman's disconnections, I think that's kind of like shot him in the foot, really. But Jazzman's got 7 seconds over Tynus, and Archie gained another half a tenth of a second there. Not half a tenth, half a second, should I say, on Imstow. I don't know what's up with me. I'm not even that tired today. I actually had plenty of sleep last night because I haven't been working the last couple of days. Got a full 10 hours of sleep the last 2 nights. That is like
lucky you.
A luxury. Well, yeah, before that it was like 3 or 4 hours a night every night for about the last bloody 4 weeks. So right now, relative to what I felt like, a few days ago, I feel absolutely.
She's pulled that gap down to 2.2 seconds, 2.1.
It's 3.1.
It's not. It's now down to 2 seconds.
Is it?
I've just jumped on board. So when they go through their next marker.
Oh my god. Yeah, you're right. Wow, IMSO's had a really shabby middle sector. So this could be a real prime opportunity there for Archie to nab a podium spot here. We're probably where's Jazzman right now? Jazzman is coming through. Oh, he's already coming to the end of the first sector. He's miles clear of these guys. he's about half a lap ahead of them, literally. But we're going to have probably 3 more laps in this race, including the one we're on. So 2.5 laps left where Jazzman is. Where these two guys are, they're going to have 3 more laps here. So it's going to be 3 more laps here for Archie to possibly get onto the rear of I Am Slow and nick a podium here, which would be absolutely brilliant for him. Obviously in his championship push, seeing as he'd be the highest scorer of the contenders. That's obviously excluding Jazzman, because I think even if he were to win this week and next week, hypothetically, I still don't think he would be able to win the championship. But again, we'll have to come back to it. We'll have to come back to that, but I don't think it would be.
Yeah, I don't think he can.
Archie was, I think, P2 last week, he was P4 last week. So Archie would be on about 100 and something points. After this week, Archie's probably going to be on about 150 points or something in that ballpark. So, yeah, no. I think it's going to be between Archie, Pete, Bibb, and pretty much that's it, I think. I think it's going to be between them two. D disconnecting tonight, I think he's out of it. Nilsson finishing down in P10. I reckon the 2 championship contenders are going to be Archie and Pete Bibb. And it could be Archie coming into this with a big lead. But obviously now the gap's gone up a little bit between I Am Slow and Archie. It's now 2.3 seconds as Archie's just trying to negotiate Nilsson here. And Nilsson moves well out of the way there for Archie as he makes his way through there. But the gap between Jazzman and Tynus has just gone up a little bit now. It's now nearly 8 seconds. Jazzman is just stretching it out ever so slightly. And looking like he's got this one in hand. Unless he makes a big mistake on this last lap, I think he should be safe and sound there.
Yeah, just watching. I actually didn't really get slowed up by Nielsen, but I think it might have just put him off a little bit that he was in front of him and kind of wanted him to. I think he wanted to clear him quicker than what he did. Because he did lose out actually to I Am Slow in that, and the gap's now gone up to pretty much 3 seconds again. So
yeah, I think I Am Slow's just about got this covered. Archie did look like he was staging a bit of a late rally, but I think it's just too late. That's just the main, I think, issue. More than anything.
A day late and $1 short, isn't it? That's what you normally say.
A day late and $1 short. Usually I do that in the context of a battle, but that's very true. It's very apt. The day late and $1 short phrase is one that Martin Brundle made in regards to like an on-track battle. So if somebody sends one down the inside and misses their braking point or clatters into somebody, he'd be like, that one was a day late and $1 short, I'm afraid, son. But that's the origins, I think. But it's a great saying. I do love it.
Yeah.
In the context of racing, obviously. I know it's not just a phrase that's used in racing, but I do love it when it's used in racing. But right now, Jazzman. Oh, sorry, mate. Go on.
I was going to say, I'm actually riding on board with Archie, and he's actually putting in his 200 temps up on his best lap. He's closed the gap down to I Am Slow to around 2.5 seconds. So he's really gunning for it. He's really trying to push.
The thing is, if you can get the gap under maybe 2 seconds going into the final lap, then that could put I Am Slow under a little bit of pressure. I Am Slow seems to have responded. That gap now looks like it's about, I reckon it's about 2.5. Yeah. To me, on my naked eye, 2.5, I reckon. I don't know what it actually is.
2.7. 2.7 at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Archie just on a 44.7, and I Am Slow did a 45 dead.
Yeah, Archie's chipping away, but it's just a little bit too late, I think. But Jazzman is coming into what I think is Ravazza for the final time here in this race. And out of the last corner he comes, and down start finish straight. Jazzman is going to take his first win in this Wednesday GT3 League for this season. He's had 2 disconnections to some of his season so far, but now he finally is going to stand on the top step of the podium. Jazzman, our former champion of the PS5 GT3 League and also current reigning champion of this league, hasn't been able to race at every race this season and thus is not in the battle. He's only raced in 3 rounds and he disconnected from 2 of them, but he finally gets off the mark this season for the Wednesday League. Tynus takes P2, Jazzman's good friend and former teammate with the PS5 GT3 League. Those two are also great rivals in the PS5 League. And those two, 1 and 2 here tonight. Dominant form, the two Bentleys at Imola. I Am So's going to come round. It looks like he's going to hold on for third place. I Am So was last week's runaway winner at the Nürburgring. This time around, Archie's given him a good run for his money in that battle for third spot. But as they come down towards the final couple of corners here, I think I Am So's going to make this one work, and unless he makes a big mistake. Pete Bibb and Codalunga finished the race. They were 6th and 7th places. They were lap down as why did this have to happen now? As I Am So up towards the line is going to take third place here in this race. Archie is going to follow him home to take fourth. So a good rally there from Archie, but just couldn't get there in time. And Recco is coming into the final corner. And what a disastrous race here for Recco. He had the pace at the end, but little mistakes, little errors, I think, cost him here in this one. P5 nonetheless for him. And that is that. That is the race here, ladies and gentlemen, for the 5th round, the penultimate round of the season for the GT3s here on a Wednesday night at Motive. It's Jazzman who takes the win in the end by nearly 10 seconds to Tynus, so he really pulled out the gap, 8.7, the winning margin there for Jazzman. I Am So nearly over a minute behind the top two. So they were in another league tonight. I Am So just prevailing there from Archie. That was a close run thing for third place. Recco Vantage down in P5. Not the race that he would have, I think, been anticipating at all. But nonetheless, Pete Bibb's 6th. Codalunga salvaging P7 in the end after a disastrous start to the race for him. Guitar Rich 8th ahead of Torde in 9th place. Nilsson classified in P10 ahead of Dimenta, who was 2 laps down in the end in 11th place. Farmerson had a really strong start to the race, but in the end could only manage P12. And DDTKU was disconnected from the race a long way out, just under halfway into the race he disconnected. So unfortunately, we'll score nil points for tonight. But Freeman, we both put our money on Tynus in the house. Obviously, not our actual money, but you know, we put our figurative cash on Tynus, and we managed to put the curse on him quite well, because Jazzman in the end taking a comfortable win.
Yeah, I think after the pit stop, and although we didn't see it, it must have been an error from Titus. Jazzman was never really in trouble at all, was he?
No, I don't think so. I think he was
absolute flawless drive, I think, for him tonight. So he would go for my driver today, just purely on the basis that, you know, a smart move in terms of getting himself in the pits straight away. I probably actually enjoyed kind of climbing up through the field and overtaking everyone kind of before they even went into their pit stops. I think barring Archie, Archie was the only one that managed to pit before he was able to overtake him.
Yeah, I think you're right. Archie was just about to get overtaken when he came in, but he came in anyway. So there we go then, guys. That's the race. That's round 5 of the season. Join us next week for the championship decider. We'll be at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, for that one. Unfortunately, Recco Vantage won't be with us, so he won't be in the fight for the title, which is obviously a massive shame. But Archie, we believe, is in the title fight. Also, Pete Bibb's still in there with a chance as well. So definitely check that out next week. We'll be live, same place, same time, 7 p.m. British summer time for that one. But from myself and from Freeman, it's a big thank you, and we will see you later on. Good night.